Have you ever had problems with one of four things? Constipation, insomnia, eczema, or you just cannot budge those extra bits of body fat? Well, if this is you, or if you've got a friend or family member where these things are affecting them, then you definitely want to watch this interview here, because I'm going to be interviewing this amazing lady here to help give you a pretty amazing journey, a very inspiring journey over the last couple of years. About the transformation that she's made. It's quite incredible. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Brad. I'm the owner of Primal 6, First Aid for Body and Mind, and I'm also the creator of a water snob community called the Kangen Cartel. And Heidi and I have been mates, business partners. She's been my client. We've known each other for over a decade. And like, I just can't even, she looks so completely different in comparison to the photos that you will see online now of what she used to look like a couple of years ago. It's quite inspiring. So I'm really thankful for you and your time to be able to share this story again. We actually did do an interview similar to this like about a year ago when she was right at the very beginning of what was happening. But now it's just like, you'll see the photo of her now. She's sitting there so you can't see her, but like, she looks pretty damn different, doesn't she, in comparison to the way that she used to. So yeah, thank you for being here, Heidi. Appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure, Brad. Anytime. It's always good to see you, mate.
Yeah. So we'll get into what we want to do first here is that we want to talk more about like what was life like for you prior to you deciding to make this transformation. Let's talk about, what was life like when you had wicked insomnia, eczema, constipation, and you were a lot bigger.
Well, yeah, my body was inflamed and angry. It was sad and angry. I'd been through quite a lot of trauma, grief, a marriage breakdown, and the loss of my family members who, raised me. So there was a lot going on, I guess, psychologically, which then would, roll over into the physical side of me.
Yeah.
So there was inflammation, there was a lot of toxic stuff happening. I was eating my way through it. That was sort of my way of coping, was eating. I was on medications to help cope with sort of, that sort of post-traumatic stress, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept gaining weight. I couldn't sleep. I was sluggish. I was going to the toilet maybe once a week, I reckon.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. And you needed laxatives to actually help you to do that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then so that was the constipation. What about eczema? How long had that been a
problem on your
foot?
So the eczema was a huge thing for me. So that had actually started, it was pretty well as I had started the journey into watching my family start to get sick. And it had started on my hands, and I had thought it was a spider or something, and I was like, this is really bizarre. And then as I got more inflamed, as I got more upset, as I sort of internalized anger, it started to come out of my feet so bad that I was like scared to wear sandals. It was red, It was angry. And I remember seeing like holistic people and dermatologists, and a Chinese doctor said to me, your insides are angry. Your liver is angry, and it's inflammation. And I would try everything. Honestly, I had just given up on it, and it was horrible to look at.
And you'll see the photos on there now, guys, like the before and afters, they're pretty amazing. And that all changed like pretty damn fast as well, didn't it?
I couldn't believe that, Brad. That one. Even just the other day, I looked down at my foot, and even for months after, there was so much scarring from how bad it would flare up and then, go back down, flake off, and then start again. And I just looked down at my feet, and I was like, look at them. There's not even redness. But that was I accidentally noticed that. I was like sitting on the lounge, and I had my foot out, and I sort of, as you do, looked down at my foot and was like, it's gone. There's nothing there. And then that's when I grabbed the photo straight away, and I'd gone back through my photos and sent to you and said, Brad, check this out.
What the heck is that? What is that? But yeah, that really blew me away. And then also, constipation then as well. Tell me about that, because that's something that so many people have problems with. Like you were on laxatives, you said as well, to be able to even just go to the toilet once a week. But like, how long was that affecting you for though?
That was years. So that was pretty well. As I got stressed, my body and organs did their own thing. They were all yelling out saying, you need to do something here. But yeah, that was quite some time, and that really did get to me as well, obviously. And I mean, like we both know, we've both been on spiritual and physical journeys ourselves, and always been interested in our health. When I started drinking Kangen water, I didn't think about constipation or eczema or anything like that.
I
was like, great, I love water, I drink a lot of water, it's got molecular hydrogen. So in the first week, I went straight to 9.5 pH, let's go, straight all in as you do. And yeah, it was within a...
So yeah, to give you guys a bit of insight into that, there were two, I felt, from being part of Heidi's journey, there's kind of been two major catalysts that helped her to create a huge amount of change that we're just speaking about. One was just changing the water that she was drinking, and the second one was completing a 31-day program that I've created that's on my Primal 6 app, and we'll talk more about these things in a sec. But yeah, she changed her water. So, but before we get into more of the changes that happened to you afterwards, the last one is that you also lost 12 kilograms in a really quick period of time as well, once you had changed water. So like, how long was your body also in that state where you felt bigger than what you were normally?
Well, I've been carrying that weight around since I think 2019-20 when I gone through my sort of separation, divorce, and moving back home.
Yeah.
So yeah, it had gone up and down, but you know, during that time of doing the palliative care with Nan and Granddad, it had gotten, I'd reached the very pointy end of a lot of weight, which you'll see in the before and after photos.
So she was definitely ready for change. And anyhow, so we basically had got together. We've been part of different businesses that are always health related. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, without your health, there is no wealth in life. You know, I feel at least. And in Heidi's case, we had come together through a product that's called a drinkable ketone, Keto OS, and it puts you into what's called a state of ketosis without having to eat the diet, which is pretty challenging for a lot of people to eat. But that's not our main focus of what we're talking about today. But we came together through that. And then what then actually happened is that we were introduced to ionized water, this water that's also got the name of Kangen water through the Japanese company that we now represent, called Gagie. So, you know, after you started drinking this, let's talk about the story about you started drinking this water and those four things. What happened? What changed?
Well, mate, let's just go back to like the fact that I had pretty well just taken myself and secluded myself away from everybody. And I was at a point where I need change. I need to reach back out. Where's my prove it guys? Where's my people that I look up to and, you know, admire in business and health and things like that. So yeah, got in touch with you and said, where are we at, mate? What are we doing? And that's when you had your Primal 6 app that you just started. And I said, look, I need to have a look at this. So I now have a look, you know, and obviously your basic things for you having a good life, a healthy life were in there. And once I jumped onto that 30-day challenge that I did, it opened my mind again to things that like I knew worked and I already had in my tool belts, and I was like, okay, changes started slowly there. But then, when, you know, I know you were looking at Kangen and Magic at that time, and we both sort of had a look into it, and once we got that was it. It was like
massive things
weight
changed.
went, constipation.
And to let you guys know, so just to summarize it, like there's a course that I've got that's part of many courses I've got on this app, and this course that goes for a month is basically giving someone 5 days to focus on each of the different 6 foundation principles of health that are part of what I teach people called the Primal 6. So in order: mindset, breath, water, food, movement or exercise, and sleep. So water is the third most important thing that influences a person's health from my perspective. So obviously, you know, when you started going through that program, it was reminding you of a whole heap of stuff that you probably haven't done in a long time, and probably even introduced you to some other things you're like, oh, I've never done that before. And it helps to guide people to new habits and routines that can become part of their life. And it's worked really well for her. She did it a couple of times as well. But I'll take a step back from that there though. I do know though, because I was actually staying here at this particular time with her. My wife and my daughter and I were staying with Heidi. And it was definitely the biggest I'd ever seen her. I kind of didn't really recognize you wearing these massive, you know, dresses that sort of cover everything. Couldn't even walk through the doors with these shoes. No, just joking. But like, I was seeing her starting to drink the water and to use what's called an Eczema shower filter as well. And at the time, her partner at the time was really going on about how amazing his hair was feeling as well, which was kind of crazy. But like, talk me through, like, with all the things that you have done over that time, let's talk about the biggest change. What's life been like since you started the transformation that you have?
Brad, I'm not going to lie, I went through some pretty traumatic times over the last 12 months. I myself actually don't even know how I got through them, but if I have to be completely honest with you, my water keeping my body functioning, obviously absorption, another big one is the absorption of medication. So while I had been relying on medication, the water itself, while it would break the medication down and disperse it through your body, the like more water I drank and the healthier I got, the less medication I was having to take because it was, you know, the absorption was so much better until that was nearly gone, and you know, that alone was great for me. And then so basically a few more traumatic things happened, some pretty crazy stuff, as you know. But I held on to the tools that I'd found during that time, like literally held on to them like crazy. My sleep, look, it's helped me a lot to be able to sleep like I do now. Obviously not having to rely on medication, going to the toilet regularly, journaling, I do that daily, and obviously doing the Primal 6 challenge, that was something that reminded me that was very important to me. My I am statements, you know, things that such small things that we forget about, you know, that they're just huge, you know, and just loving yourself again, you know. And as these things started to change, and I started my journaling and my goal setting, and you know, started to sit with myself and, you know, breathe properly, and I just remind myself that put my oxygen mask on first. You know, like
I mean, I know I would have used it in the course as well, but that's so true.
But to be completely honest with you, the Primal 6, the water, I will tell you every day of the week, is magic to me. It has saved my life this year. It truly has. It's allowed my skin to keep glowing, regardless of the stress and trauma that was happening inside of me. Emotionally, physically, I've managed to maintain my health, my fitness, you know, and eat well and sleep well, and you know, my digestive system isn't angry, and I've been able to keep those things going just by using the principles from Primal 6, and obviously, drinking good water.
So I guess if I was to sort of even just to see what you can remember, because I know it's been a while since you've done the course, but you were talking about some different tools that I've reminded you about or taught you about to do with improving a person's mindset.
In this last 6 months, I learned my first boundary. From some NLP work that I had done with you. Now, boundaries was something I knew about, and so were red and green flags, but I would usually paint the red ones green. And you know, boundaries, they were for other people, you know, trust everyone, it's going to be fine. Now, I laid out a pretty firm boundary about 6 months ago, and it felt very uncomfortable for me, and I had to do some pretty deep work just wholly on that. Now, this last 6 months, so we had the food, we had the, you know, in health and feeling good. This last probably 4 months has been really now zoned in on boundaries, and my circle has become so small, but it's just so well picked.
Quality versus quantity,
appreciated, and I have to say, my whole world, regardless of what happened, you know, my kids, my health, my few friends, I'm the best place I've ever been.
The second Primal 6 foundation is breath. So were you then incorporating any sorts of meditation or breath work or any of those sorts of tools that were on there as well?
Absolutely, So one of the things that was really interesting to me was when someone has been through a lot of trauma, they take a lot of small breaths. So the more I started to look into that, and then the more powerful, you know, I started to see how it was when you were really, you know, getting high on your own supply, as they say. So that was another big thing.
That's such a huge one, because a lot of people, I don't feel, recognize the difference between you can either breathe to stimulate your body to keep you awake, or you can breathe to be able to down-regulate your body and help it to chill out and relax. So, you know, there's breath work in the form of like meditation, that's the latter, to be able to help chill you out. But then you can do different sorts of breath work like Wim Hof or rebirthing, all these different sorts of ones that have different names that are just all about waking you up. But there's a right place to use either one, I feel, because most people are already doing breath work, small, fast, chest-based sorts of breaths, and through the mouth all the time, which just stimulates the stress response in their body, as opposed to if you're breathing more through your nose and you're relaxing, you're conscious of your breathing. It's kind of a secret weapon for a lot of people to help chill them the hell out. So if we're talking about one of the next Primal 6 foundation principles, food, what do you feel like's changed the most, say, from a food perspective for you in the last couple of years? Do you think food has even changed that much? Is it more of the stress was driven from mindset
food's changed massively. There's definitely. But that was probably my last thing, because I have been using food as my coping. You know, people turn to drugs or alcohol, whatever. I didn't. Mine was ice cream. So I think I've had one ice cream in the last 6 months, 8 months or something. So the sugar cravings have gone. Look, I'm more mindful of what I'm putting in. When I was going through that stressful phase, I had once I'd lost that initial weight, I was like, okay, let's get fit, let's get back to my normal weight. And then going through that extra trauma, I'd slipped right back down to a point where I had to gain weight, and I'd never been like that before. That was a really weird space to be. To be honest with you, that has been my last sort of wheel on the tire, as I like to say. All your four wheels have to be pumped up. That was my last one that I touched on, was food, because I would just...
Well, that's interesting that you brought that up, because so many people, I feel, when they're wanting to make a transformation like you've seen Heidi make, is that a lot of people just go straight to food. But the thing is that for me, from the philosophies that I push forward with the Primal 6, you can go without food for a few weeks. You can't go without water for more than a few days, so water's more important than food. There's plenty of stories of people around the world, particularly in India and things like that, that don't eat food for months, years type sort of thing. So there's a lot to be said about food, but it's interesting how, a lot of people that I know that are watching this would go straight to, I've got to just change my food, but I don't think you can really change the foods that you choose and that you eat and stuff until you change the mindset that's driving you to actually want to eat the foods that you are, especially in the case of stress where you're eating ice cream and all that.
Oh, absolutely. I guess a really powerful tool which people don't realise too is fasting. What we were educated with, with the ketogenic diet. Now, I sure as hell can't do 4 days without carbohydrates. I know that. And some people, actually thrive on just all protein, as opposed to, people like myself who can't eat a full protein diet. So I wasn't being good to myself with food, however, I was fasting. So, do you know what I mean? I was implementing supplements that allowed me to fast longer and be in ketosis. So I was still losing weight, or, during that time, or when I was gaining weight, I would carb cycle. So I was still eating shit food, what I wanted to eat. But I had a few principles around it. Whereas now, I'm like, since I've added greens, since I've got all protein in my diet, there's so many more things. And it has been the last thing that I've changed.
Prior to, or when I first saw you at your worst, would it be fair to say that you weren't really doing much purposeful movement then at all, meaning like exercise or going for a walk at least? Or
my walk to the letterbox was pretty much it.
And then now also though, because talk about, the average of the 5 you associate with the most, where do you now work, Heidi?
I work at Good Life Gym.
She's at a gym?
Yep.
So do you think that most people that walk into the gym are going to be in a good mood or a bad mood, or be good energy to be around or bad energy to be around?
It's a crack up when we get the odd one that comes in unhappy. It is. It's quite a laugh, and the staff there will all go out of our way to be like, good morning, just because it's like, whoa. Just people are on a high after they exercise. And I even watch the video at the front counter, and as I'm watching the video, I'm like, I'm working out when I finish my shift today.
And that's it. So now she's got no excuse not to exercise or just not just walk to the post box and back, because you're surrounded by it all the time, that's so good. And the last one, at least with the Primal 6 stuff, is sleep. So insomnia, that was a problem with you for quite a while,
Yes. Okay. So insomnia. The first time I ever started suffering with insomnia was when my daughter Mia was born. She was born with a terminal illness when I was 21. And basically, I think I had pretty much made an agreement with myself that I would stay awake and be the best mum I could for that little girl. So I had trained myself from then, and then she passed away when she was 5. And I just never untrained that part of my body. And I guess another thing happened, and like I was saying to you before, my new definition of success is a relaxed nervous system.
I think that's a cool one.
This is the first time in my life I've had a relaxed nervous system.
But it's so true, because I remember when the first time I stayed here with my family, she'd be up till all hours and then sleeping all morning. And I was just like, God, what does this girl do? How'd she do this? But
I even said to myself, I had actually come to terms with myself. I was like, people like savoury, people like sweet, some people are night people, some people are day people, some people are vertical, horizontal. And I was just like, I'm just a night owl. I'm not now. it's 10 o'clock and I'm like, whoa, what time is it?
Mate, there's so much power in bloody sleeping. I think there's a lot of people that they don't put as higher importance on the benefits of sleep to improving their health and to help you to transform, because that's when so much of the healing powers or the healing change happens from what you've done through the day. So if you go to the gym a lot and you go and do a weights workout and you break down all of your muscles, they're not growing and repairing until you're sleeping at night using the nutrition that you've eaten in the day to help them to repair. So I want to take a step back though to talk a little bit more about water, just because to keep it simple, we represent a company from Japan that sells water products, but they're not just water filter products, they ionize the water. Yeah, well, this is the thing. It's sort of like water can be filtered. Most people have heard of water filters to get rid of things like chlorine and heavy metals and rust from pipes and all that sort of stuff. But you can also ionize the water. And what Heidi's talking about is that it's also like a lightning bolt hitting a body of water, like a lake or something like that. It just like energizes the water. And in turn, it creates this special source called molecular hydrogen, which is the smallest molecule known to man from what we've understood and seen. So that basically allows that water to get into every freaking crevice of the body that you want. And Heidi was saying it allows it to also go across the blood-brain barrier. The brain's pretty protective, as I'm sure you could agree, and it doesn't want any sort of liquid to just go into it like alcohol, but it will allow this water to do it. Your tap water won't, your normal filtered water won't, only this water can do it. But also the magic of what we use that you'll see now on the video, it doesn't just create drinkable water, it creates 7 different types of water. And out of the 7 different types of water, they do completely different things. And we've got bigger, longer videos that you can watch to understand what that's all about. But the stuff that really made the biggest difference with Heidi is that it was the higher alkaline water with all of the bubbles in it that allowed her to, I think, really, it probably helped massively with your constipation because you were just so dehydrated in your lunch.
But like I said to you, anyone that knows me knows that I've always got a water bottle.
Oh yes, you got to bring this up.
Yeah, so my whole life I've been a big water drinker, and it's a joke between my friends. You'll never see Heidi with that from Mount Franklin bought water bottle. Always. I'd always bought tap water, like not tap water. I'd always bought Mount Franklin, and I would get around with that. So for me, yeah, I was always a big water drinker, and my children, they don't know anything other than drinking water. So for them, it was a no-brainer. The water is what we drink all day. But then to go from water, that sort of water, to this sort of water, I used to pee every 20 minutes. Whereas now I probably pee 3 times a day, drinking a little bit less even, but around the same amount as what I used to. So that itself for me is just another thing that shows you that it's not just flushing all your minerals and everything else out. It's actually going in and it's soaking in and it's going to where it should do, and then your kidneys are filtering out the waste as it should.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think there's a lot of people that would know the benefits of food that is what's called more bioavailable, just terminology that people have probably heard or read, where it's like, it's just basically saying that food's going to absorb better than that food. And it's the same thing with water. And I'm sure if you've got like an expensive car versus a cheap car, there's different types of fuel that you can put into the car, because some fuels work way better than the others. They absorb more effectively and do the job better. And that's what the water basically does. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I had a friend that stayed with me for a week ages ago, and he was used to drinking 3 to 4 litres of just filtered water. But then all he had available was the ionized stuff at my place. And he's like, mate, I'm only having 2 litres of water now, and I just hardly ever have to go to the toilet in comparison to what I usually do. Like, well, what is it? Give me the rundown. So there's a lot to be said about that. And I've also said this in another video recently, that I had a client with schizophrenia, and it's a brain-based challenge, and we've talked about the blood-brain barrier. He absolutely froths over this water, and I have to bring him 2 litres of this stuff every time that I see the guy every week. So look, this sort of stuff that we're touting here is it's pretty powerful, and it's worth looking further into. That is for sure. If you want just cheap filtered water, or you want to get something from the supermarket that's got alkaline written on it, you can get that. But this is kind of like the Rolls Royce of water. So I think on that note, we'll sort of we'll finish up pretty soon, unless there's anything else that you want to share about your journey.
No, just that it's been good, and I'm grateful to have had you in my life, and part of my family, and it's good.
I'm stoked for you, mate. I'm really. I mean, so if any of you guys want to learn more about anything that we've just talked about, my services as a Primal 6 holistic health coach, or my app, or you want to know more about ionized water, Kangen water, or even want to learn more about the business that Heidi and I have together, sharing this information with the world, then just comment below or reach out to us both personally, and we'll give you the info you need and set you up for the next step. So thank you once again.
Thank you, mate.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Cheers.